Olivia Moore stepped out of her luxury car, taking a deep breath as she gazed up at the towering hotel before her. Dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, she walked confidently toward the lobby entrance, her heels clicking with purpose against the polished marble. For Olivia, this was supposed to be a well-deserved break, a chance to relax after months of high-stakes business negotiations. She was a billionaire, a name well-respected in real estate, a woman who'd earned every bit of her success through grit and determination. Today, though, she was here simply as a guest. As she entered, her presence turned heads. She wasn't just any guest. Her aura commanded respect, and her success was evident. She approached the front desk with a warm smile, expecting the usual smooth check-in process. The receptionist, a young woman with a polite but guarded expression, glanced up briefly, only to do a double take when her eyes met Olivia's. Olivia caught the fleeting look, surprise, maybe even discomfort. She was used to it, though it still left a weight in her chest. She remained composed, her gaze unwavering. "Yes, I have a reservation under Olivia Moore," she said, her tone pleasant but direct. The receptionist's smile faded as she tapped quickly on the computer, her eyes occasionally darting toward Olivia, each glance clouded with something unspoken. After a moment, the woman's fingers paused, and she looked up, her expression shifting to something more formal, almost detached. "I'm sorry, Miss Moore," she said, her voice careful, almost rehearsed. "It appears we don't have a reservation under that name." Olivia felt a chill, but she didn't react immediately. "Could you check again?" she asked calmly, her tone steady. The receptionist's eyes flickered with something inscrutable, but she gave a quick nod, returning to the computer. She typed again, slower this time, and then paused. There was a slight stiffness in her posture, a guardedness that Olivia recognized too well. "It seems there's been an oversight, Miss Moore. Unfortunately, we're fully booked at the moment." The words hit like a familiar blow, but Olivia maintained her composure, her face betraying nothing. She knew what this was. It wasn't the first time, and she knew it wouldn't be the last. But here, in a place where she was just trying to be herself without the weight of titles or success, the sting felt sharper. "Fully booked," she repeated, her voice soft, measured. She glanced around at the lobby, a grand space with more than enough room to spare. It was hard to miss the murmurs from other staff, the curious glances cast her way. She knew if she pushed, she'd probably hear more rehearsed excuses, more thinly veiled lies. But Olivia was done with those battles. Instead, she let a slight smile curve her lips, a gesture almost of acceptance. "Thank you," she replied, her voice carrying a subtle strength, though only she knew the determination behind it. Turning slowly, Olivia walked back across the lobby, her head held high, her steps measured. As she exited the hotel, she felt a surge of resolve building within her, a determination that had been her driving force for years. She wasn't leaving defeated. No, this was just the beginning of something much larger. Stepping outside, Olivia breathed in the crisp air, the weight of the moment settling in her mind. She would be back, she thought to herself, with a quiet certainty. And next time she would come not as a guest, but as something far more powerful. Back in her office that evening, Olivia sat quietly by the large window, watching the city lights flicker across the skyline. The events of the day replayed in her mind. The receptionist's hesitant tone, the false politeness, the disapproving glances. She'd built an empire by her own hands, fought through biases in boardrooms, and proven herself time and time again in an industry that had never made room for her. And yet, here she was, turned away like she didn't belong. But Olivia wasn't one to let bitterness take root. She knew that energy could be transformed into something much more powerful. Calmly, she picked up her phone and called her assistant. "Jessica," she said, her voice steady, "I need a complete profile on Pinnacle Hotels. Financial history, ownership details, all of it. Send it to me first thing in the morning." Jessica knew better than to question Olivia's intent, especially when she heard that calm determination in her voice. "Of course, Miss Moore," she replied, and within moments, Olivia could already hear the assistant gathering information. As the night deepened, Olivia poured herself a cup of tea and began outlining her thoughts. She knew the hospitality industry was not her usual playing field, but that didn't matter. She'd once transformed her small real estate firm into a billion-dollar enterprise from nothing. Taking on a hotel chain would be just another step in her journey. Over the next few hours, Olivia immersed herself in researching the Pinnacle Hotel Group. She discovered that while the hotel chain had a strong reputation, it was struggling with dwindling profits, outdated policies, and a management style that catered only to a certain kind of clientele. It was a legacy brand, yes, but one burdened by the weight of its own exclusivity. Olivia sensed an opportunity, one much bigger than just buying a hotel. An idea began to form, a vision. She didn't just want to buy this hotel. She wanted to turn it into a symbol of something greater. A place where no one would ever feel excluded or judged. A space where respect and equality were just as luxurious as the marble floors and crystal chandeliers. Her own experience today would be the catalyst for creating a hotel that welcomed everyone, regardless of their background or appearance. By morning, Olivia's plan had solidified. She could see it as clearly as the sunrise breaking over the skyline outside her window. She would acquire the Pinnacle Hotel and transform it, not only as an act of quiet defiance, but as a beacon of inclusion, a place that symbolized change and a new era in hospitality. Her assistant, Jessica, arrived with the reports as promised, and without hesitation, Olivia began reviewing every page, every number, every possible angle. She knew she'd have to be discreet. This acquisition would require patience, strategy, and precision. A small smile played at the corners of her mouth. She wasn't just buying a hotel. She was about to redefine what it stood for. And in the process, she'd show everyone, especially those who had doubted her, that Olivia Moore belonged in any space she chose to enter. With a clear plan in mind, Olivia wasted no time. She reached out to her trusted legal team and a small circle of advisors who specialized in discreet acquisitions. Over the years, these individuals had helped her transform seemingly impossible ideas into thriving ventures, and now she needed their expertise more than ever. Gathered in her private conference room, Olivia laid out her vision. Her team listened intently as she explained not only the business opportunity, but the deeper purpose behind her interest in Pinnacle Hotels. She wanted more than just another addition to her portfolio. She wanted to change the essence of what the hotel represented. Discretion is key, she instructed, her voice calm yet commanding. I want to approach this quietly, through intermediaries. The current owners don't need to know it's me yet. Her advisors nodded in agreement, taking notes and exchanging glances of understanding. They knew this project was personal for Olivia, and they respected her vision. She detailed her requirements, from ownership shares to financial strategies, and instructed her financial experts to begin a thorough review of Pinnacle's holdings. We'll start by reaching out through private channels, she continued. Let's gauge their willingness to sell and gather any insight on potential vulnerabilities. I want this acquisition to be seamless and under the radar. Her team was quick to act, reaching out to brokers, lawyers, and financial consultants who could handle sensitive negotiations. Within days, preliminary inquiries were in motion, and they began to map out a strategy to present an offer the Pinnacle Group couldn't refuse. As the groundwork was laid, Olivia felt a surge of quiet satisfaction. It was exhilarating, watching her plan come together piece by piece. Each meeting, each negotiation brought her closer to her goal. This wasn't just a business acquisition, it was a personal mission, one that would allow her to reshape the very space that had once rejected her. Sitting back in her chair after the meeting, Olivia gazed at the city skyline. Soon, she thought, Pinnacle Hotels would be a place that welcomed everyone, a place where elegance and inclusivity coexisted. She would make sure of it. And with every step of the plan falling into place, she was more certain than ever that this was her path forward. Several months had passed since that first cold welcome, and Olivia Moore was ready to return. This time, however, she wouldn't arrive as a guest. Today, she was stepping through the doors of the Pinnacle Hotel as its new owner. Dressed in a pristine white suit that radiated elegance and power, Olivia strode confidently across the lobby. Her gaze was steady, her posture relaxed yet commanding. The opulent chandeliers overhead cast a warm glow, catching on the silver accents of her outfit, and her every step echoed through the polished marble floors, drawing the attention of staff and guests alike. Behind her walked two of her top executives, both there to witness this significant moment. Olivia had chosen to keep her acquisition discreet up to this point, allowing only her inner circle and essential personnel to be aware of the transfer of ownership. She wanted this moment, her return to the hotel, to speak for itself. The receptionist at the front desk was the same young woman who had turned her away months earlier. As she caught sight of Olivia approaching, her expression changed. First, a polite smile of greeting, then confusion, and finally, a slow realization as Olivia drew closer. The receptionist's face went pale, her mouth opening slightly as if to say something, but no words came out. Olivia held her gaze, allowing a slight smile to play at the corners of her mouth. She saw the flicker of recognition in the receptionist's eyes and took a quiet satisfaction in it. "Good afternoon," Olivia said with calm authority. "I'm here to meet with the hotel management team. Please let them know the new owner has arrived." The receptionist blinked, her face now a mixture of shock and nervousness. "Yes, of course, Miss Moore," she managed to stammer, scrambling to compose herself. As the receptionist picked up the phone with trembling hands, Olivia continued to gaze around the lobby, now with a sense of ownership and quiet triumph. She could see the familiar faces of other staff members looking her way, some whispering among themselves, others simply watching in awe. It was as if a silent ripple had spread across the lobby, the news of her return passing from one curious glance to the next. Moments later, Robert Hayes, the hotel's general manager, appeared from the back office. Tall and immaculately dressed in a tailored suit, he wore a polite smile that faded slightly as he recognized Olivia. He hadn't been at the desk that day she was turned away, but he had heard about her unexpected return to the lobby. He extended a hand, his posture stiff and guarded. "Miss Moore," he greeted her, trying to keep his tone cordial but betraying a hint of unease. "Welcome back to the Pinnacle Hotel." Olivia shook his hand firmly, her eyes never wavering from his. "Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I trust the staff has been briefed about the change in ownership?" His hesitation spoke volumes. "Yes, we've informed everyone. The transition has been smooth," he replied, clearing his throat. "Good," Olivia replied, nodding slightly as she surveyed the grand space that was now hers. "I look forward to speaking with the management team about our plans moving forward." With a slight gesture, she invited Hayes and the other managers to follow her to the conference room. The team trailed behind, casting uneasy glances at one another. They were used to traditional ownership, a faceless investor group perhaps, or a family that made appearances only for special occasions. But this was different. Olivia Moore wasn't an absentee owner. She was here, and she was ready to make changes. Inside the conference room, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation as the managers took their seats around the polished mahogany table. Olivia remained standing, her hands resting on the back of her chair as she looked at each member of the team. "As you all know," she began, her voice calm and assured, "I've taken ownership of the Pinnacle Hotel, and I want to make it clear. My vision for this place is rooted in inclusivity, respect, and a standard of excellence that goes beyond what you've known before." The managers exchanged nervous glances. Hayes cleared his throat again, nodding as if in agreement. But Olivia could sense their apprehension, the uncertainty that lingered in the room. "I believe in upholding the highest standards of hospitality," Olivia continued, "but I also believe in creating an environment where every guest feels welcomed, valued, and respected. No exceptions." A few of the managers shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Olivia's eyes fell briefly on the head of guest services, who looked down, avoiding her gaze. She knew that her presence alone was challenging their assumptions, and that was exactly what she wanted. She straightened, her voice firm but calm as she delivered her final words. "I didn't come here to blend into the status quo. I came here to change it. This is no longer a place that will tolerate exclusion or narrow definitions of luxury. This is a place that belongs to everyone. If any of you have concerns about these values, I invite you to speak with me directly. My door will always be open." With that, Olivia took her seat, signaling the beginning of a new era at the Pinnacle Hotel. It was no longer just a symbol of exclusivity. Under her leadership, it would become a place of true luxury, one where respect and inclusivity were woven into every detail. The silent looks of awe and respect from her team only confirmed what she already knew. She was exactly where she was meant to be. The following day, Olivia gathered the management team and key department heads in the grand ballroom, a space often reserved for high-profile events and elite gatherings. Today, though, it was filled with a sense of expectancy, a hushed anticipation. Olivia stood at the front of the room, poised and self-assured, her gaze sweeping over the faces of those who would now report directly to her. "Thank you all for joining me this morning," Olivia began, her voice carrying effortlessly across the room. "As some of you may already know, I'm Olivia Moore, the new owner of the Pinnacle Hotel." She paused, watching the subtle reactions ripple through the room, a few raised eyebrows, some murmurs, and a quiet glance or two exchanged between employees. "I want to start by saying that this is more than just a business acquisition for me," she continued, her tone both commanding and inviting. "This is the beginning of a vision I've had for a long time, a vision that I believe will elevate the Pinnacle Hotel beyond anything it has achieved in the past." Her words hung in the air, and she let the silence linger for a moment, allowing her message to sink in. "From today forward, we will be transforming the Pinnacle into a place of true inclusivity, where everyone, from our guests to our staff, feels welcomed, respected, and valued. The days of exclusivity are behind us. The only standard we will uphold here is excellence, and excellence includes everyone." She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of her managers one by one. Some nodded, while others looked thoughtful, and a few seemed visibly uncertain. She knew that her vision was a significant shift from the hotel's previous identity, but she also knew that change was exactly what this place needed. To implement this, we'll be making some changes to our management practices and staff policies, she announced. Every department will undergo training in inclusivity and service excellence, with a focus on creating a welcoming environment for all guests, regardless of background or status. Olivia noticed Robert Hayes, the general manager, watching her closely. She sensed his apprehension, but also his curiosity. He seemed to be grappling with this new direction, perhaps realizing the magnitude of what Olivia intended. "Additionally," she continued, "we'll be revising our hiring practices to reflect a more diverse and inclusive team. Our staff should be a reflection of the world we serve, and I'm committed to providing opportunities for people of all backgrounds to thrive here at the Pinnacle." There was a pause, and Olivia softened her tone. "I understand that change can be challenging, but I'm here to assure you that this change is not just necessary, it's transformative. If any of you have questions, or if you're uncertain about how you fit into this vision, my door is always open." A respectful silence followed, the room charged with the energy of new possibilities. As Olivia stepped back, she could feel the weight of her words settling into the minds of her staff. She had drawn a clear line, one that would reshape the Pinnacle from the inside out, and from that moment on, there was no turning back. After the meeting, Olivia sat down with her executive team to outline the next steps in transforming the Pinnacle Hotel. She spread out documents across the conference table, detailed plans, training modules, and research on best practices in inclusive hospitality. Her vision was not just about luxury. It was about creating a welcoming atmosphere that extended to every guest, from the most well-known celebrities to first-time travelers. First, Olivia began, pointing to the training schedule she had developed. "We're implementing mandatory inclusivity and hospitality training for all staff. This won't be just a one-time session. I want a sustained program that reinforces our values of respect and excellence." The department heads nodded, already scribbling notes. Olivia continued, "Next, we'll create a feedback system that invites guests to share their experiences directly. I want to hear what we're doing right and where we need to improve. It's time to set a new standard, and that means listening actively to our guests." She looked over at the guest services manager. "I also want a concierge program designed to assist guests with diverse needs, those traveling with families, the elderly, and people with disabilities. We need to ensure everyone feels accommodated and respected." As her team absorbed the plans, Olivia felt a deep sense of purpose. This was not just about fixing policies. It was about reshaping the very soul of the hotel. With each improvement, The Pinnacle would become a place of true luxury where every person felt valued. It was an ambitious plan, but Olivia knew they were ready to set a new benchmark for hospitality, one that others would aspire to follow. The response was immediate. Many guests nodded in approval, and Olivia could sense genuine interest and hope in their faces. Then she introduced her final initiative for the evening, one that was closest to her heart. "We'll also be launching a partnership with local nonprofits focused on job training," Olivia announced. The Pinnacle will offer internships and mentoring programs with positions across all departments. This initiative is aimed at young adults and individuals facing barriers to employment. I want to create pathways for people who have talent and ambition but may lack access to opportunities. And I want those pathways to start here. A wave of applause broke out, filling the room. Olivia felt a surge of gratitude as she saw the positive reactions from community members, leaders who had been skeptical of her intentions, now visibly moved by her dedication to real change. One of the attendees, Carla, a director of a local nonprofit organization, stepped forward with a question. "Ms. Moore, this sounds wonderful, but how will we know that these commitments won't fade over time? What steps will you take to ensure this isn't just a temporary change?" Olivia met Carla's gaze, her expression steady and sincere. "That's a fair question, Carla," she replied. "To ensure these commitments endure, I'll be forming a community advisory board. This board will meet quarterly to review our progress, offer feedback, and help guide future initiatives. I want leaders like you to hold us accountable and ensure that the Pinnacle continues to be a place that reflects the values we're building." Carla's face softened with a smile, and around the room, Olivia saw expressions of trust beginning to form. She had earned their respect, and the Pinnacle's role in the community was evolving right before her eyes. As the evening came to a close, guests approached Olivia to share their appreciation and excitement for the hotel's new direction. She left that night with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that she'd taken a significant step in transforming the Pinnacle from a symbol of exclusivity into a community pillar. The path forward would require dedication and consistency, but Olivia felt confident that her vision was beginning to take root. The Pinnacle Hotel was no longer just a luxury destination, it was becoming a place of unity and belonging. As Olivia walked through the lobby after the event, the feeling of accomplishment stayed with her. She had always dreamed of creating something larger than herself, something that could stand as a testament to the power of unity and inclusion. And tonight, she felt closer to that vision than ever before. With every interaction, from her initial conversations with skeptical leaders to the applause that had filled the room, she sensed the impact of the Pinnacle's transformation. No longer just a high-end hotel, it was now a space where people from all walks of life could feel valued and welcome. This was more than a rebranding. It was a new purpose, one that Olivia hoped would inspire similar changes in the hospitality industry. The next morning, Olivia gathered her team to reflect on the event and discuss the initiatives they would soon be rolling out. She outlined the steps for setting up the Community Advisory Board, assigning roles to her executive team members to ensure that the board's voice would be an integral part of the Pinnacle's decision-making process. She knew that keeping the hotel's commitment strong meant having accountability, with voices from the community actively shaping its path forward. Over the following weeks, Olivia's vision started to take root. The Pinnacle's lobby featured an evolving display of local art, offering visitors a glimpse into the city's vibrant cultural scene. Monthly open houses brought in residents who had never seen the inside of the Pinnacle before, now enjoying workshops, events, and simply the luxury of feeling at home in a space that once seemed off-limits. As the internships and mentorship programs began, Olivia met with the first group of young trainees, some of whom had overcome significant hardships to reach this opportunity. Seeing their enthusiasm and potential, she felt that familiar swell of pride. This was just the beginning of what she hoped would be a long-lasting impact, a legacy not just of luxurious stays, but of tangible, meaningful change. Each day, as Olivia observed the Pinnacle's new role in the community, she knew that her vision was becoming reality. In the following weeks, Olivia focused on another critical aspect of her vision, transforming the staff to reflect the diverse, inclusive environment she wanted to create. She understood that true hospitality came from within, from the people who greeted every guest, prepared every meal, and maintained every room. To make the Pinnacle Hotel a place that welcomed all, she knew that her team needed to reflect the broad spectrum of people they served. Her first step was to restructure the hiring process. Olivia gathered the human resources team and explained her goals in detail, emphasizing the need for a fair, transparent hiring system that actively sought out talent from all backgrounds. She wanted the Pinnacle to be a workplace that valued skill, dedication, and potential, no matter the race, gender, or socioeconomic status of the applicant. Going forward, she instructed, we'll be partnering with community organizations that work with underrepresented groups, helping connect us to individuals who may not have had access to opportunities in luxury hospitality before. These are talented people who simply need a foot in the door. The HR team listened attentively, some nodding in agreement, others appearing slightly uncertain. Olivia understood that this shift would take some adjusting. For many years, the hotel's hiring practices had been traditional, even rigid, and the upper levels of management had remained a space where diversity was rare. But Olivia was undeterred. She drafted a new recruitment policy that set diversity as a core priority, aiming to hire individuals who could bring fresh perspectives to the Pinnacle. Positions across all departments, management, concierge, housekeeping, and culinary, would now be filled through partnerships with local job centers, colleges, and community programs. The next step was implementing a training program focused on inclusivity and cultural sensitivity. Olivia hired a team of experts specializing in hospitality and diversity to conduct these sessions. Every staff member, from the front desk to the executive team, would undergo training designed to foster respect, empathy, and understanding of the diverse needs of the hotel's guests. On the first day of training, Olivia herself joined the group, standing among housekeepers, chefs, receptionists, and managers. The room was filled with quiet chatter, some nervous excitement, and a hint of uncertainty. She began by addressing the group directly, wanting them to feel her commitment to this initiative. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice warm yet firm. "I want to make something clear. The Pinnacle is now a place where everyone is valued, guests and staff alike. This training is about more than just professional development. It's about building an environment where we all feel respected and appreciated, and where every guest who walks through those doors feels truly welcome." The room was silent, the staff visibly moved by her words. Olivia continued, "We're all here to learn from each other. Diversity brings strength to our team, to our services, and to the experience we create for our guests. I want each of you to feel proud, not only of the work you do, but of who you are. That's what makes this place special." The training began with interactive sessions that allowed staff to share their own backgrounds, perspectives, and experiences. Staff members found themselves listening to stories from colleagues they had worked alongside for years, yet had never truly known. As the sessions progressed, Olivia could see the bonds forming, a mutual respect growing between team members from all walks of life. After training wrapped up, Olivia noticed an immediate change in the atmosphere. Staff greeted each other with newfound warmth, and the hotel felt more alive, buzzing with a shared purpose. Guests noticed too. The Pinnacle's reputation was evolving, attracting people from all backgrounds who felt embraced by the hotel's unique environment. Olivia knew the journey was far from over, but with each new step, the Pinnacle became not only a symbol of luxury, but a testament to what true hospitality could be, rooted in kindness, respect, and unity. Her words were met with nods, some tentative smiles, and expressions of genuine interest. She continued, "This training is the start of a journey. It's not just about learning policies, but understanding how each of us can make this hotel a place of kindness and respect." The first session focused on unconscious bias, a topic that led to some eye-opening discussions. The trainers shared examples of how small actions like a greeting, a glance, or even the tone of a voice could affect a guest's experience. Staff members were encouraged to share their own experiences and to think critically about how biases, even unintentional ones, could impact interactions. Olivia was particularly impressed by the openness in the room. Employees spoke candidly about the challenges they had faced in their own lives, from the subtle prejudices to outright discrimination. A young woman in the housekeeping team shared her experience of feeling invisible in high-end spaces, while a concierge manager reflected on the assumptions guests sometimes made about his capabilities based on his accent. The discussions were powerful, and Olivia felt grateful to witness such vulnerability. The training room was transforming into a safe space where staff members could connect, learn, and grow together. Olivia watched as people who had once worked side by side in silence began to understand each other's backgrounds and struggles in a way that strengthened their bond as a team. As the training sessions continued over the next few days, the group delved into topics of cultural awareness and guest relations. Trainers guided staff through practical scenarios, teaching them to navigate interactions with guests from a range of cultural backgrounds. Staff members practiced greeting guests in different languages, learned about various cultural customs, and explored ways to anticipate and meet unique needs. One particular exercise had a profound effect on the team. Trainers divided them into small groups and asked each group to brainstorm how they would make a guest from a specific cultural background feel at home. The groups took the task seriously, coming up with ideas that reflected a new depth of understanding. Some suggested adjusting the menu to offer culturally diverse dishes, while others recommended adapting amenities to suit guests' preferences. The ideas sparked excitement as the staff realized they had the power to make every guest experience truly memorable. Olivia joined in, observing the enthusiasm and camaraderie building among her team. She felt a deep sense of pride as she watched them take ownership of the Pinnacle's transformation. They were no longer just employees. They were becoming ambassadors of the hotel's new vision. As the training concluded, Olivia gathered everyone for a final message. "Thank you for your openness, your effort, and your dedication," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "The changes we're making here aren't easy, and I know it requires courage from each of you. But I truly believe that together we're creating something extraordinary, a place that welcomes and respects everyone who walks through our doors." The room erupted in applause. Olivia looked around, seeing faces filled with pride, understanding, and newfound confidence. The Pinnacle Hotel was changing from the inside out, and it was because of each person standing in that room. For the first time in years, the staff felt not just like a workforce, but a community. A team bound together by a purpose bigger than themselves. Among the new hires, one stood out to Olivia almost immediately, a young man named Marcus. Marcus was in his mid-20s, with an energy that was both humble and ambitious. He came from a neighborhood not far from where Olivia herself had grown up, an area often overlooked in the city's luxury sectors. Despite his background, or perhaps because of it, Marcus had an undeniable determination that Olivia found refreshing. Marcus joined the Pinnacle as a front desk assistant, a role that, while entry-level, required a finesse for handling high-end guests. Within his first few days, he had already earned a reputation for his attentiveness and empathy. Olivia first noticed him during one of her routine walks through the lobby. She saw him speaking to a guest, a frazzled mother with 2 small children, and the way he listened, smiled, and carefully handled their requests impressed her. Marcus managed to find them a quieter suite and even arranged a small welcome kit for the children, complete with coloring books and snacks. Olivia watched as the woman's tense expression softened, her gratitude evident. Intrigued, Olivia made it a point to observe Marcus over the next few days, taking note of how he handled various situations with an unforced kindness and grace that even some senior staff struggled to match. She quickly realized that Marcus was not just doing a job, he was seizing every opportunity to learn and grow, pouring himself into each interaction with guests and demonstrating an instinctive understanding of hospitality. One afternoon, Olivia approached him as he was wrapping up a shift. "Marcus," she greeted, her tone warm but curious, "I've been noticing the way you handle yourself here. You have a natural ability to make people feel at ease." Marcus, slightly taken aback, smiled modestly. "Thank you, Miss Moore. I just try to treat people the way I'd want to be treated. I never thought I'd have the chance to work in a place like this." Olivia nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "Have you ever considered a career in hospitality management?" she asked. Marcus's eyes lit up with both surprise and hope. I'd love that," he admitted, his voice tinged with excitement. "I've always wanted to learn more, to be part of something bigger. But I never thought it was possible." Olivia placed a hand on his shoulder, her gaze steady. "Then let's make it possible. I see potential in you, Marcus, and I think you could go far. We're starting a mentoring program, and I'd like you to be one of the first to participate. You'll learn from experienced managers, and if you're willing to work hard, there's no limit to where you could go here." Marcus's smile widened, a glimmer of gratitude and pride in his eyes. "Thank you, Miss Moore. I won't let you down," she returned his smile. "I know you won't, Marcus. Welcome to the team, the real team." As she walked away, Olivia felt a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't just about transforming a hotel. It was about creating opportunities, about empowering people like Marcus who were ready to rise and make a difference. One quiet evening, as Olivia was reviewing the historical records of the Pinnacle, she came across documents that left her feeling both disturbed and resolute. At first, she had been looking into the hotel's history out of curiosity, learning about its origins, early patrons, and events. But as she dug deeper, she uncovered an unsettling past, one that painted a much darker picture of the hotel's legacy. The Pinnacle had opened its doors in the early 1900s, at a time when exclusivity was synonymous with privilege. In its heyday, it had become a symbol of luxury for a very particular clientele, catering primarily to the city's wealthiest residents and prominent social figures. But as Olivia read on, she found that the hotel had once held policies that actively barred people of color from entering its doors. For decades, the Pinnacle had served as a gathering place for those who upheld segregation, reinforcing a barrier that Olivia herself had spent her entire life breaking down. Page after page, she read about events, galas, and ceremonies that had been marked by strict, unspoken rules of exclusion. The staff policies, too, reflected a harsh reality. Only a select few, always from the same backgrounds, had ever been considered for prominent roles. The hotel, it seemed, had been designed not as a place of warmth and welcome, but as a fortress for the elite, a monument to inequality. Olivia closed the final page of the report, her mind racing. She felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and determination settle over her. She had suspected that the Pinnacle had a history rooted in exclusivity, but to see it laid out in such stark terms was unsettling. For a moment, she sat in silence, processing the weight of what she had just learned. It was clear to her now that transforming the Pinnacle meant more than just changing policies or revamping aesthetics. To create a true shift, she would have to reckon with this past and acknowledge it openly. She couldn't just erase history. Instead, she needed to confront it, to turn the hotel's legacy of exclusion into one of inclusivity and redemption. The next day, Olivia met with her executive team and shared her findings. Some of them reacted with surprise, others with discomfort, as they absorbed the hotel's past. "This isn't just about rebranding," Olivia told them, her tone resolute. "If we're going to build a future that's truly inclusive, we need to acknowledge and confront where we came from. The guests, the community, they deserve to know." One of her managers, a thoughtful woman named Linda, spoke up. "How do you plan to address this, Olivia?" she asked quietly. Olivia looked around the room, her gaze steady. "We're going to be transparent. I'm going to organize a public event, a symposium, to openly discuss the history of this hotel. We'll bring in community leaders, historians, and those who've been impacted by these practices. It's time the Pinnacle stands as a symbol of change, not just in words, but in action." As Olivia left the meeting, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to confront the past, and in doing so, pave the way for a more inclusive future. The Pinnacle would no longer be just a hotel. It would be a place of healing, growth, and progress. In the days following her discovery, Olivia threw herself into planning a public event that would be as transformative as it was bold. This event, she decided, would be a symposium on inclusivity and social change, one that would openly address the Pinnacle's complicated past. Her vision was to create a space where the community could confront the hotel's history, recognize its impact, and engage in conversations about the importance of progress and equality. She gathered her executive team and outlined her plan in detail. "We'll host this symposium in the Pinnacle's ballroom," she began, "and it will be open to the public. I want people to see that we're not hiding from our past. Instead, we're facing it, owning it, and creating a new chapter." Her team listened intently as she listed the key aspects of the event. First, she wanted to invite local historians who could provide context about the era in which the Pinnacle was built and the discriminatory practices that had been commonplace back then. "The community deserves to understand how the hotel's history reflects broader issues," she explained. "Only then can we fully appreciate the progress we're trying to make." Next, Olivia emphasized the importance of including voices from the community. She reached out to several local leaders, civil rights activists, educators, and nonprofit directors who had long been advocates for diversity and equality. She wanted them to share their perspectives, as well as their personal stories of facing barriers similar to those that the Pinnacle once upheld. By bringing in people whose lives had been shaped by the very issues the hotel had once perpetuated, Olivia aimed to give the event both depth and authenticity. She also planned for a series of discussion panels, each one focused on a different aspect of inclusivity. One panel would cover diversity in the workplace, exploring how businesses could build fairer, more representative work environments. Another would examine the role of hospitality in promoting equality, delving into the ways that hotels, restaurants, and public spaces could become more welcoming for all guests, regardless of background. The final panel would address the future, how institutions with complicated pasts like the Pinnacle could serve as symbols of transformation and become active participants in driving societal change. Olivia hoped that by giving people an opportunity to talk openly about these topics, the Pinnacle could contribute to a larger conversation about progress. With the framework in place, Olivia turned her attention to the logistics. She enlisted her assistant, Jessica, to help coordinate everything, from invitations and speaker schedules to media outreach. Olivia wanted this event to be covered by the press so that the message of transparency and inclusivity would reach beyond the walls of the hotel. She hoped the Pinnacle could set an example for other businesses and institutions grappling with similar issues in their histories. As the planning unfolded, Olivia couldn't help but feel a mix of anticipation and responsibility. She understood that some people would criticize her for bringing up a painful past, for stirring up issues that some felt were better left behind. But Olivia believed that facing the truth was the only way to create real, lasting change. By acknowledging the Pinnacle's history, she could transform it into a place of healing and reconciliation, rather than one of silence and suppression. Olivia's commitment to inclusivity extended to the event itself. She instructed her team to ensure the symposium was accessible to everyone, including people with disabilities, and that translations would be available for non-English speaking attendees. She wanted this event to reflect her vision for the Pinnacle: open, welcoming, and respectful of every individual. As the date of the symposium approached, word began to spread. Local media picked up the story, and many in the community were curious to see how this once exclusive hotel would address its past. Olivia was pleased to see the attention, and she knew it would lead to a packed ballroom. The day before the event, Olivia walked through the ballroom as her team set up. She could feel the weight of what was to come, the emotions that would fill this room as people shared, learned, and hopefully grew together. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what would be one of the most significant days of her career. The day of the symposium finally arrived, and the Pinnacle's grand ballroom buzzed with an energy unlike anything Olivia had ever experienced in this space. The room was filled with a diverse crowd: local residents, community leaders, historians, journalists, and hotel staff, all seated in anticipation of what was to come. For years, this ballroom had hosted exclusive events, closed off to all but the elite. Today, however, it had transformed into a gathering space for the community, a place where everyone was welcome. Olivia stood at the back of the room for a moment, taking in the sight. Rows of chairs were arranged neatly, facing a small stage with a simple podium at the front. Around the room were displays and photos from the Pinnacle's past, some showcasing the opulence of its early years, others quietly acknowledging the barriers that had once stood at its doors. Olivia had arranged these displays with care, wanting the audience to feel the weight of the hotel's history. Jessica appeared at her side. "It's a full house," she whispered, smiling. "They're all here to listen." Olivia nodded, taking a deep breath. This was the moment she had been preparing for. With one last look at the gathered crowd, she stepped forward, making her way toward the podium. The room fell into a respectful silence as she approached, and the eyes of the crowd turned to her, filled with curiosity and expectation. "Good afternoon, everyone," Olivia began, her voice steady and warm. "Thank you all for joining us today. I know that for many of you, the Pinnacle Hotel represents different things: a landmark of luxury, a place of history, or perhaps even a symbol of exclusivity. But today, we are here to examine that history together, openly and honestly." She paused, looking around the room. "As the new owner of the Pinnacle, I believe that this place has the potential to be more than just a hotel. It can be a space where we confront our past, embrace the present, and build a future that is inclusive and respectful of all people." A ripple of nods spread through the audience, and Olivia continued. "For over a century, the Pinnacle stood as a pillar of high society. It was a gathering place for the city's elite, an exclusive venue for those deemed worthy. But as we examine this history, we must also recognize that the Pinnacle was a place of exclusion, a place that, for decades, kept certain people out because of their race, their background, or their perceived place in society." A solemn silence filled the room as her words settled over the crowd. Olivia could see a range of expressions: surprise, sadness, contemplation, as people absorbed the reality of the hotel's past. "I discovered this history while preparing to take over as owner," Olivia continued, her voice softening. "And to be honest, it was painful to read. As a woman of color, I know what it feels like to be told I don't belong, to be met with closed doors and skeptical glances. So when I learned that the very space I now own once upheld those same attitudes, I felt a deep responsibility to address it, not just as a business owner, but as a person who believes in justice, equality." The crowd listened intently, and a few people nodded in encouragement, visibly moved by her words. "That's why we're here today," Olivia went on. "I've invited historians, community leaders, and activists to help us explore this legacy, to understand the context of that era, and to share the stories of those who faced discrimination and exclusion. This is not just about the Pinnacle. It's about acknowledging a broader history that has affected so many." She gestured toward the panels set up along the side of the room, where experts and community figures would soon lead discussions. "Today, we'll have panels on diversity and hospitality, on creating inclusive workplaces, and on the importance of honest reckoning with our past. These conversations are vital because they allow us to learn, to reflect, and to grow together." Taking a deep breath, Olivia moved into the heart of her message. "As the owner, I commit to making the Pinnacle a place where no one will ever feel they don't belong. We're launching initiatives to employ staff from all backgrounds, to offer scholarships and training programs, and to open the doors of this hotel to everyone in our community. This isn't just a shift in policy, it's a shift in purpose. The Pinnacle's doors will never be closed to anyone based on who they are." The room erupted in applause. The sound filled the ballroom, a swell of support and affirmation. Olivia looked out over the crowd, feeling a wave of gratitude and pride. After the applause faded, she concluded, "I know that change isn't easy, and that it requires all of us to participate, to question, and to hold each other accountable. But I believe that this journey is worth it. Together, we can make the Pinnacle more than just a hotel. We can make it a place of unity, of growth, and of respect, a place that I hope will inspire others to follow." With that, Olivia stepped back from the podium, and the audience rose to their feet, giving her a standing ovation. She felt a mix of relief and fulfillment wash over her. This was no longer just a hotel, it was a space for transformation. As the applause quieted, The first panelists took their places at the front of the room, ready to lead the discussions that Olivia had so carefully curated. She took her seat among the attendees, eager to listen, to learn, and to support the voices that would guide the Pinnacle into its new future. Throughout the day, stories were shared and ideas exchanged, and Olivia could feel the shift happening, not just in the hotel, but in the hearts of those present. The Pinnacle had become a place of openness and acceptance, and as she watched the conversations unfold, she knew that this was only the beginning of the legacy she had set out to build. In the days following the symposium, Olivia felt a profound sense of purpose settling over her. The event had been a success, bringing together the community, challenging perceptions, and inspiring dialogue. The Pinnacle had transformed from a place of exclusivity to a beacon of inclusivity, a symbol of progress in the hospitality industry. But for Olivia, this was only the beginning. She couldn't help but think beyond the walls of the Pinnacle. Why stop at one hotel, one building, when the need for change was everywhere? One evening, Olivia sat in her office, gazing out over the city skyline as an idea began to take shape. She wanted to create a network of hotels dedicated to inclusivity, welcoming guests from all walks of life, and providing employment opportunities for people of diverse backgrounds. The Pinnacle would be the first of many, a flagship for a brand built on values that prioritize people over privilege. She picked up the phone and called Jessica, her assistant. "Jessica, let's arrange a meeting with the senior team and the board," she said, a spark of excitement in her voice. "I want to discuss expanding our vision. I think it's time we created something bigger than the Pinnacle. It's time to bring Unity Hotels to life." Jessica's voice echoed Olivia's enthusiasm. "I'll set it up right away, Miss Moore." A few days later, Olivia stood in the boardroom, facing a group of her closest advisors and investors. She knew that her vision was ambitious, and that it would require not only resources, but a commitment to the values they had just begun to build at the Pinnacle. "Thank you all for being here," she began, looking around the room with steady resolve. "As you know, our recent transformation of the Pinnacle Hotel has been met with an overwhelmingly positive response. We've seen what's possible when we create spaces that welcome everyone, where diversity and respect are more than just words, they're a way of doing business." Her audience listened intently, some nodding, others clearly intrigued by where this might be going. "I believe we can take this further," Olivia continued. "Imagine a network of hotels, each one a place where inclusivity, respect, and opportunity are at the heart of every guest experience and employee interaction. This new brand, Unity Hotels, will be dedicated to setting a new standard in the hospitality industry. We will create spaces that not only serve the elite, but reflect and embrace the communities they're part of." The room was silent for a moment as her words sank in. One of the investors, a seasoned executive with decades of experience, leaned forward. "Olivia, this is bold. Expanding a brand like this will require substantial resources. How do you plan to approach it?" Olivia smiled, having anticipated the question. "We'll start by identifying properties that align with our values and vision, but may be struggling under traditional business models. These are hotels that need new leadership, a fresh perspective. Properties like the Pinnacle once was. We'll make them offers that provide value for both the current owners and our brand, then transform them from the inside out." She paused, allowing her team to consider the possibilities. "And we won't do this quietly. I want Unity Hotels to stand as a testament to what hospitality can and should be. Each hotel will be part of a larger mission, not just to provide luxury accommodations, but to set a global standard for inclusivity and community engagement." Her words were met with nods of understanding, and Olivia could feel the support building in the room. "Imagine what we could accomplish," she said, her voice brimming with conviction. "Unity Hotels could redefine the industry, demonstrating that luxury is not exclusive. We can create a chain of hotels where everyone feels valued and respected, and where communities see themselves reflected in the staff and the environment." The boardroom filled with murmurs of approval, the air charged with a renewed sense of purpose. Olivia felt a swell of satisfaction, knowing that her vision was resonating. As the meeting adjourned, her team and advisors approached her, shaking her hand and offering words of encouragement. The journey had only just begun, but Olivia felt ready to embark on this new chapter. With the Pinnacle as its heart, Unity Hotels was born that day, a brand not only focused on hospitality, but on building a better world, one open door at a time. With the foundation for Unity Hotels approved and her team on board, Olivia set her sights on the first steps toward expanding the brand. She knew that turning her vision into reality would require strategy, patience, and a dedicated team, as passionate about the mission as she was. The Pinnacle had set the standard. Now it was time to bring that standard to life in other properties. Olivia assembled a team of experts in hospitality, community engagement, and brand development. She called it the Unity Task Force, a group dedicated to identifying properties that could join Unity Hotels and embody its values. This team was diverse in every sense, representing various backgrounds, ages, and experiences. Olivia wanted Unity Hotels to be shaped by people who understood the importance of inclusivity firsthand. In their first meeting, Olivia outlined the criteria for potential acquisitions. We're not looking for the flashiest hotels or the properties already thriving under traditional business models, she explained. We want hotels with potential, places that may be underperforming because they haven't embraced the change we're bringing. These are properties that can benefit from a new approach, one that prioritizes people, community, and diversity. Her team nodded, energized by her words. They quickly set to work, researching hotels across the country, pinpointing locations in cities where luxury and exclusivity had often meant a lack of inclusivity. The goal was to find hotels that could be transformed into welcoming spaces for everyone, regardless of background or status. As the team gathered data, Olivia led outreach efforts to connect with the current owners of these properties. Her approach was strategic yet personal. She knew that convincing owners to sell wasn't just about offering a competitive price. It was about sharing her vision. In each conversation, she explained how Unity Hotels could reinvigorate their businesses, connecting them with communities they had previously overlooked and attracting a broader range of guests. One of the first properties they targeted was a historic hotel on the outskirts of Atlanta. Built decades ago, it had once been a beloved gathering place for the local community, but had struggled in recent years to keep up with the modern luxury market. The building was grand but dated. The management focused on catering to an older, exclusive clientele rather than the increasingly diverse population around it. Olivia saw it as the perfect candidate for Unity Hotels. She reached out to the current owner, a longtime manager who had inherited the hotel from his father. When they spoke, Olivia shared her vision for Unity Hotels, describing a future where the historic hotel would once again be a hub for the community, only now one that welcomed people of all backgrounds. The owner was initially hesitant, but as Olivia outlined how they could restore the hotel's legacy while revitalizing its mission, he warmed to the idea. He saw the potential not only for financial recovery, but for a meaningful legacy that would honor his family's history while moving into a more inclusive future. By the end of their conversation, the owner agreed to consider Olivia's offer seriously, promising to discuss the proposal with his family. Olivia left the call feeling optimistic, confident that she was on the cusp of securing Unity's first expansion. As she looked around the room at her task force, she could sense the excitement and dedication radiating from each member. They were committed to this vision as deeply as she was, and together they would make Unity Hotels a reality. The journey was just beginning, but Olivia felt assured that with every new property they transformed, they would redefine what it meant to be part of the hospitality industry, a network of open doors and welcoming spaces, united in purpose. She traveled to Atlanta with two of her team members to meet the owner, Mr. Daniels, a man in his 70s who had inherited the hotel from his father. Olivia sat across from him in the dimly lit office, explaining her vision for Unity Hotels, her commitment to inclusivity, and her respect for the hotel's history. "We don't want to erase what this hotel has meant to the community," she told him, leaning forward earnestly. "We want to build on it. We want to honor its legacy while ensuring that it remains relevant and accessible to everyone, including those who may have never felt comfortable walking through its doors before." Mr. Daniels listened carefully, a thoughtful expression on his face. He was intrigued by her vision, moved by her sincerity. The hotel had been struggling, and he was uncertain about its future, but Olivia's passion was infectious. She could see the wheels turning in his mind, and after a long pause, he nodded. "I believe you're the right person to take this hotel forward, Miss Moore," he said, his voice filled with respect. "It's time it became a place for everyone. Let's talk about how we can make this happen." Over the following months, Olivia and her team worked tirelessly to bring Mr. Daniels' hotel into the Unity Hotels family. They oversaw renovations, bringing the building up to date while preserving its historic charm. They updated guest rooms, expanded common areas to create more inviting spaces, and introduced decor that reflected both the hotel's roots and its new commitment to inclusivity. One of the most impactful changes came with the hiring process. They reached out to local job centers and colleges, looking for individuals who represented the surrounding community. Olivia personally interviewed many of the new staff members, wanting to ensure they understood and embraced the vision of Unity Hotels. She offered mentorship programs and career training, especially for young employees eager to build their futures in hospitality. As the opening date approached, the anticipation grew. Olivia's team organized a community event to reintroduce the hotel to Atlanta, inviting everyone, local families, small business owners, and past guests. It was an open-door event, a chance for everyone to see the transformation firsthand. On the evening of the reopening, Olivia stood in the hotel's newly refurbished lobby, watching as guests from all walks of life filled the space. The energy was palpable. People marveled at the elegant new design, enjoyed live music from a local jazz band, and explored the hotel's rich history displayed in carefully curated exhibits. Mr. Daniels was there too, smiling as he watched his family's legacy take on new life. As the evening wore on, Olivia felt a profound sense of accomplishment. This was no longer just a dream, but a tangible reality. Unity Hotels was growing, one property at a time, each location a testament to the belief that luxury could and should be inclusive. Months after the launch of Unity Hotels, Olivia found herself once again walking through the bustling lobby of the Pinnacle, which now buzzed with a warmth and diversity she had dreamed of. The Unity vision had come to life, and in every corner of the hotel, from the friendly greetings at the front desk to the thoughtfully curated amenities, she could see the impact of her efforts. But today felt different. Today, she was meeting with someone who had grown alongside Unity Hotels, Marcus. Marcus had risen quickly through the ranks since his early days as a front desk assistant. He had impressed Olivia and the rest of the team with his dedication, empathy, and willingness to learn. Through Unity's mentorship program, Marcus had taken on responsibilities beyond the front desk, learning the intricacies of hotel operations and management. He had come into his own, and it showed in the confidence he carried with him now. Olivia entered the conference room where Marcus was waiting, his posture straight and professional, yet with an unmistakable spark of excitement. He had recently been promoted to assistant manager, a role he took on with the same humility and determination he'd shown from the start. Olivia smiled as she extended a hand, greeting him with a warmth that went beyond formalities. "Marcus," she said, "I'm incredibly proud of you. You've come so far, and I think you know this is only the beginning." Marcus grinned, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Miss Moore. Honestly, I never imagined I'd be in this position, especially in a place like the Pinnacle. Working here, under your guidance, has shown me that anything is possible." They both sat down, and Olivia could feel the sense of mutual respect that had grown between them. She remembered the young man she'd first noticed on the lobby floor, handling a stressed guest with such patience and care. Now, here he was, sitting across from her as a leader within Unity Hotels, a testament to the very values they had worked to instill. "Marcus, how do you feel about the direction Unity Hotels is going?" Olivia asked, genuinely interested in his perspective. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "I think it's inspiring, not just for the guests, but for the staff too. When I walk through these halls, I see people who look like me, people from all backgrounds, and they're all working together, thriving. That's something I never thought I'd see in a hotel like this. It feels like a movement, Miss Moore. not just a business. Olivia felt a surge of pride hearing this. That's exactly what I'd hoped it would be, she said, her voice steady with emotion. I wanted Unity Hotels to be a place that reflects the world as it should be, a place where everyone feels they belong and where potential is seen and nurtured. Marcus's expression softened. You know, I used to feel like a guest in places like this, even when I worked here. But now, it feels like home, like it's ours. And I want to make sure that everyone who walks in, guests, staff, everyone, feels that way too. They sat in a comfortable silence for a moment, both of them feeling the weight and purpose of what they had built together. Olivia could see that Marcus had become more than just a team member. He was a true partner in her mission. Marcus, Olivia said finally, I'd like you to be part of something bigger. We're going to expand Unity Hotels even further. And I need leaders who believe in this vision, who understand it from the inside out. I want you to be part of the team guiding this expansion. Marcus's eyes widened in surprise, then settled into a look of determination. I'd be honored, Miss Moore. I believe in this vision with everything I have, and I'd love to help it grow. With a smile, Olivia extended her hand again. Welcome to the future of Unity Hotels, Marcus. I have a feeling we're just getting started. Olivia felt a swell of pride as she listened. This was exactly what she had hoped to achieve. Not just a transformation of buildings, but a transformation in the people who inhabited them. I'm glad you feel that way, Marcus, she replied. Unity Hotels is about more than providing luxury. It's about creating opportunity, fostering growth, and showing the world that inclusivity is not a limitation, it's our strength. Marcus nodded, clearly moved. If there's anything I've learned here, it's that everyone deserves a chance to shine. I've seen it with my own eyes. Guests and staff who walk through these doors and feel like they belong for the first time. They continued discussing the future of Unity Hotels, each sharing ideas and reflecting on their journey. Olivia was thrilled to hear Marcus's ideas for new mentorship programs, ones that could help other young people like him find paths to success within the hotel. He had a vision that went beyond his own growth. He wanted to pay it forward, just as Olivia had done for him. Before they finished, Olivia leaned forward, her expression sincere. Marcus, I want you to know that this is your space now too. You've earned it. And as Unity Hotels expands, I want you to be a part of that growth. You've proven yourself, and you've shown me that you have the heart and the drive to lead. Marcus's eyes widened slightly, and he swallowed, clearly moved by her words. Thank you, Miss Moore. I'll do my best. I won't let you down. She smiled, shaking her head. I know you won't, Marcus. That's why I'm offering you a position on the leadership team of our next property. I want you to help shape the next Unity Hotel from the ground up. Marcus sat back, momentarily speechless, but a smile slowly spread across his face. He was both honored and excited, and Olivia knew he was ready. This was a new chapter for him, just as it was for Unity Hotels. As they rose and shook hands, Olivia felt a profound sense of fulfillment. This was the legacy she wanted to build, not just a chain of hotels, but a movement that empowered people, lifted them up, and created spaces where everyone belonged. Walking out of the conference room, she glanced back at Marcus, who stood tall, his eyes shining with purpose. Unity Hotels wasn't just transforming the industry, it was transforming lives. And that, Olivia realized, was a legacy worth building. Late one evening, Olivia sat alone in her office at the Pinnacle, the city lights casting a warm glow through the expansive windows. The once quiet lobby below now bustled with the energy and diversity she had dreamed of. Guests from all backgrounds mingled freely, and her staff reflected a wide range of cultures, perspectives, and talents. Unity Hotels was thriving, not just in numbers, but in spirit. She leaned back in her chair, thinking back to where it all began, the moment she was turned away from this very hotel. That sting of exclusion had been a familiar feeling, one she had endured many times on her journey to success. But instead of letting it defeat her, she had transformed it into a mission, turning a symbol of exclusivity into one of inclusivity and unity. Olivia's mind wandered through the milestones. The quiet acquisition of the Pinnacle, the initial pushback from management, the hard conversations about the hotel's past, and finally, the transformative symposium that had opened the doors to the community. And then the launch of Unity Hotels, a brand dedicated to embracing every person who walked through its doors, whether they came to work or to stay. The impact had been profound, and watching people like Marcus rise and thrive had been one of the most rewarding parts of the journey. In these moments of reflection, Olivia felt a surge of gratitude. She knew that none of this would have been possible without the support of those who had believed in her vision, from her team to the community leaders who'd partnered with her, and even the guests who had supported the changes she'd made. Together, they had created something that went beyond a luxury hotel brand. They had built a movement that showed the world that inclusivity and excellence were not opposing forces, but powerful partners. As she looked out over the city, Olivia felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every late night, every difficult conversation, and every leap of faith. She had transformed not just the pinnacle, but herself in the process, learning that true success wasn't only about her own achievements. It was about lifting others, creating spaces where people felt they belonged and were valued. With a deep breath, she rose from her chair, looking around her office one last time for the night. Unity Hotels was no longer just her vision. It was her legacy. And she knew that it would continue to grow, reaching places and people she might never meet, but whose lives would be touched by what she had started. As she turned off the lights and closed the door behind her, Olivia felt a calm resolve. She was ready for whatever came next, knowing that her work was far from over, but that she had built a foundation strong enough to endure. Unity Hotels was a part of her now, and as long as it stood, so too would her dream of a world where everyone belonged. The next morning, Olivia gathered her executive team and key staff members in the Pinnacle's sunlit atrium. It was an important day, a time to reflect on how far they had come and to look ahead. Unity Hotels was thriving, and the journey they had embarked on together had transformed more than just hotels. It had set a new standard for the industry. But Olivia wanted her team to know that their mission didn't end here. This was only the beginning of a commitment that would last far beyond any of them. As they settled into their seats, Olivia stepped forward, her gaze steady and filled with purpose. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice warm but resolute. "I want to take this moment to recognize the incredible work you've all done. Unity Hotels wouldn't be what it is today without each of you. The dedication, passion, and heart you've poured into this journey are why we're here now." She paused, allowing her words to settle. "But as proud as I am of what we've achieved, I believe our true legacy is still taking shape. Unity Hotels isn't just about creating inclusive spaces. It's about actively supporting the communities we're part of and continuously challenging ourselves to improve." She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of her team. "This means that as we grow, we don't forget our mission. Every new hotel we open, every partnership we form, every guest we welcome, these aren't just business transactions. They're opportunities to reinforce our values and expand our impact." Olivia's voice softened, but her conviction remained clear. "I want each of you to feel empowered to carry this vision forward, to look for ways to make Unity Hotels a place where people feel respected, seen, and uplifted. I want us to set an example for the industry, proving that luxury doesn't have to exclude anyone, and that each of us in our own way has the power to make a difference." The room was silent, but Olivia could see the determination in her team's eyes, the understanding that they were part of something much larger than themselves. "In the coming months," she continued, "we'll be launching new initiatives, internships, community partnerships, and sustainability projects, all aimed at making a lasting impact. I want Unity Hotels to be a symbol not just of hospitality, but of possibility. Together, we can create a legacy that inspires change." As Olivia finished, a wave of applause filled the atrium, a shared expression of pride and commend. She felt a sense of peace, knowing that her team understood the significance of their work and that Unity Hotels was in capable hands. "Let's build a future we can all be proud of," she said, smiling. "For us, for our guests, and for everyone who dreams of a place where they belong."